Hello, welcome to Dracula in Russian Lesson 23. If you have not listened to Lesson 22, please click on it now. If you are new to the channel, please click on Lesson 1.
In veliki perplexity, then I come to you and ask you out of tvoi so much kindness to tell me all of it that you can remember. I can tell you I doom it, Dr. Van Helsing, all owe it. Ah, then you have Haroshi memory for facts, for details? It is not always so with young ladies. No, doctor, but I wrote it all vniz at the time. I can show it to you if you like. Oh, Madam Mina, I will be grateful. You will do me much favor. I could not resist the temptation of mystifying him a bit. I suppose it is some of the taste of the original apple that remains still in our mouths. So I handed him the shorthand diary. He vzal it with a grateful bow and said, "May I read it?" "If you wish," I answered as demurely as I could. He opened it, and for an instant his litso fell. Then he stood up and bowed. "Oh, you so clever woman," he said. I knew long that Mr. Jonathan was a mushima of much thankfulness, but see, his wife have all the Haroshi things. And will you not so much honor me and so help me as to read it for me? Alas, I know not the shorthand. By this time my malinki joke was over, and I was almost ashamed, so I vzal the typewritten copy from my work basket and handed it to him. "This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi." "Forgive me," I said. "I could not help it, but I had been thinking that it was of dear Lucy that you wished to ask, and so that you might not have time to wait. Not on my account, but because I know tvoi time must be precious. I have written it out on the typewriter for you." He vzal it and his glaza glistened. "You are so good," he said. "And may I read it now? I may want to ask you some things when I have read." "By all means," I said, "read it over whilst I order lunch, and then you can ask me questions whilst we eat." He bowed and settled himself in a chair with his nazat to the light, and became absorbed in the papers, whilst I went to see posle lunch, chiefly in order that he might not be disturbed. When I came nazat, I found him walking hurriedly up and vniz the komnata, his litso all ablaze with excitement. He rushed up to me and vzal me by both hands. "This is a reminder. Remember very translates to ochin. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi." "Oh, Madam Mina," he said, "how can I say what I owe to you? This paper is as sunshine. It opens the gate to me. I am daze, I am dazzle, with so much light, and yet clouds roll in behind the light every time. But that you do not, cannot comprehend. Oh, but I am grateful to you, you so clever woman. Madam," he said this, ochin solemnly, "if ever Abraham Van Helsing can do anything for you or yours, I trust you will let me know. It will be pleasure and delight if I may serve you as a druk, but all I have ever learned, all I can ever do, shall be for you and those you love. There are darknesses in life, and there are lights. You are one of the lights. You will have happy life and Haroshi life, and tvoi husband will be blessed in you. But doctor, you praise me too much, and then you do not know me. This is a reminder. Remember who translates to kto. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi. Not know you. I, kto am stari, and kto have studied all my life men and women. I, kto have zdielo my specialty the brain, and all that belongs to him, and all that follow from him. And I have read tvoi diary that you have so goodly written for me, and which breathes out truth in every line. I, kto have read tvoi so sweet letter to bedni Lucy of tvoi marriage and tvoi trust, not know you. Oh, Madam Mina, Haroshi women tell all ich lives, and by dane and by hour and by minute, such things that angels can read. And we men kto wish to know have in us something of angels' glaza. Tvoi husband is noble nature, and you are noble too, for you trust, and trust cannot be где there is mean nature. And tvoi husband, tell me of him. Is he quite well? Is all that fever gone? And is he strong and hearty? I videls des an opening to ask him a Jonathan, so I said, he was almost recovered, but he has been greatly upset by Mr. Hawkins's death. He interrupted, "This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi." "Oh yes, I know. I have read tvoi last 2 letters. I went on, "I suppose this upset him, for when we were in town on Thursday last he had a sort of shock. A shock, and posle brain fever so soon. That was not Haroshi. What kind of a shock was it? This is a reminder. Remember who translates to kto. He thought he videl someone kto recalled something terrible, something which led to his brain fever. And zdесь the whole thing seemed to overwhelm me in a rush. The pity for Jonathan, the horror which he experienced, the whole fearful mystery of his diary, and the fear that has been brooding over me ever since, all came in a tumult. I suppose I was hysterical, for I threw myself on my knees and held up my hands to him, and implored him to delit my husband well snova. He vzal my hands and raised me up, and zdel me sit on the sofa and sat by me. He held my hand in his and said to me with, "Oh, such infinite sweetness, this is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi. My life is a barren and lonely one, and so full of work that I have not had much time for friendships. But since I have been summoned to Zdes by my drug John Seward, I have known so many Haroshi people, and seen such nobility that I feel more than ever, and it has grown with my advancing years, the loneliness of my life. Believe me, then, that I come Zdes full of respect for you, and you have given me hope. Hope, not in what I am seeking of, but that there are Haroshi women still left to deal it life happy. Haroshi women, whose lives and whose truths may deal it good lesson for the children that are to be. I am glad that I may Zdes be of some use to you, for if tvoi husband suffer, he suffer within the range of my study and experience. I promise you that I will gladly do all for him that I can, all to deal it his life strong and manly, and tvoi life a happy one. Now you must eat. You are overwrought and perhaps over-anxious. Husband Jonathan would not like to see you so pale, and what he like not gde he love is not to his Haroshi. Therefore for his sake you must eat and smile. You have told me all, Lucy, and so now we shall not speak of it lest it distress. I shall stay in Exeter tonight, for I want to doom it much over what you have told me, and when I have thought I will ask you questions, if I may. And then, too, you will tell me of husband Jonathan's trouble so far as you can, but not yet. You must eat now. Afterwards you shall tell me all. Posle lunch, when we went nazat to the drawing room, he said to me, "This is a reminder. Remember go translates to eat tea. And now tell me all o him." When it came to speaking to this Veliki learned Mushima, I began to fear that he would doom at me a weak fool, and Jonathan a madman. That journal is all so strange, and I hesitated to eat tea on. But he was so sweet and kind, and he had promised to help, and I trusted him, so I said, "Dr. Van Helsing, what I have to tell you is so queer that you must not laugh at me or at my husband. I have been since yesterday in a sort of fever of doubt. You must be kind to me, and not doom at me foolish that I have even half believed some oching strange things." He reassured me by his manner, as well as his words when he said, "This is a reminder. Remember only translates to tolka. This is a reminder. Remember who translates to kto. This is a reminder. Remember any translates to luboy. Oh, my dear, if you tolka know kak strange is the matter regarding which I am zdes, it is you kto would laugh. I have learned not to doom it malinki of luboy one's belief, no matter kak strange it be. I have tried to keep an open mind, and it is not the ordinary things of life that could close it, but the strange things, the extraordinary things, the things that deal it one doubt if they be mad or sane. Thank you, 1,000 times. You have taken a weight off my mind. If you will let me, I shall give you a paper to read. It is long, but I have typewritten it out. It will tell you my trouble and Jonathan's. It is the copy of his journal when abroad, and all that happened. I dare not say anything of it. You will read for yourself and judge. And then when I see you perhaps, you will be oching kind and tell me what you think. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi. I promise, he said as I gave him the papers. I shall in the morning, so soon as I can, come to see you and tvoi husband, if I may. This is a reminder. Remember before translates to do. Jonathan will be zdes at 11:30, and you must come to lunch with us and see him then. You could catch the quick 3:34 train, which will leave you at Paddington do 8. He was surprised at my knowledge of the trains offhand, but he does not know that I have zdil up all the trains to and from Exeter, so that I may help Jonathan in case he is in a hurry. So he vzal the papers with him and went away, and I sit zdes thinking I don't know what. Letter, by hand, Van Helsing to Mrs. Harker, 25th September, 6 o'clock. Dear Madam Mina, this is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoi. This is a reminder. Remember who translates to kto. This is a reminder. Remember before translates to do. I have read tvoi husband's so wonderful diary. You may sput without doubt. Strange and terrible as it is true. I will pledge my life on it. It may be worse for others, but for him and you there is no dread. He is a noble fellow, and let me tell you from experience of men that one kto would do as he did in going vniz that wall and to that room, and going a second time, is not one to be injured in permanence by a shock. His brain and his heart are all right. This I swear, though I have even seen him. So be at rest. I shall have much to ask him of other things. I am blessed that today I come to see you, for I have learned all at Adinras so much that snova I am dazzle more than ever, and I must doom it. Yours the most faithful, Abraham Van Helsing. Letter, Mrs. Harker to Van Helsing. 25th of September, 6:30 p.m. My dear Dr. Van Helsing, this is a reminder. Remember your translates to Tvoj. 1,000 thanks for Tvoj kind letter, which has taken a veliki weight off my mind. And yet, if it be true, what terrible things there are in the world, and what an awful thing if that Mushima, that monster, be really in London. I fear to do much. I have this moment, whilst writing, had a wire from Jonathan, saying that he leaves by the 6:25 tonight from Launceston, and will be zdes at 10:18, so that I shall have no fear tonight. Will you, therefore, instead of lunching with us, please come to breakfast at 8 o'clock, if this be not too early for you? You can get away, if you are in a hurry, by the 10:30 train, which will bring you to Paddington by 2:35. Do not answer this, as I shall take it that, if I do not hear, you will come to breakfast. Believe me, your faithful and grateful Druk, Mina Harker. Jonathan Harker's Journal, 26th of September. I thought never to write in this diary snova, but the time has come. When I got home last noche, Mina had supper ready, and when we had supped, she told me of Van Helsing's visit, and of her having given him the 2 diaries copied out, and of cock anxious she has been o me. She showed me in the doctor's letter that all I wrote vniz was true. It seems to have still a new Mushima of me. It was the doubt as to the reality of the whole thing that knocked me over. I felt impotent, and in the dark and distrustful, but now that I know, I am not afraid, even of the Count. He has succeeded postly all then in his design in getting to London, and it was he I videl. He has got younger and cuck. Van Helsing is the Mushima to unmask him and hunt him out, if he is anything like what Mina says. We sat late and talked it all over. Mina is dressing, and I shall call at the hotel in a few minutes and bring him over. In the next paragraph, we are introducing a new word. The word into translates to Vev. He was, I do much surprised to see me. When I came the komnata kde he was and introduced myself, he vzal me by the shoulder and turned my litso round to the light and said, postly a sharp scrutiny, "But Madam Mina told me you were ill, that you had had a shock." It was so funny to hear my wife called Madam Mina by this kindly, strong-faced Stari Mushima. I smiled and said, "I was ill, I have had a shock, but you have cured me already." "And how?" This is a reminder. Remember your translates to Tvoj. This is a reminder. Remember only translates to Tolka. By Tvoj letter to Mina last noche. I was in doubt, and then everything vzal a hue of unreality, and I did not know what to trust, even the evidence of my own senses. Not knowing what to trust, I did not know what to do, and so had Tolka to keep on working in what had hitherto been the groove of my life. The groove ceased to avail me, and I mistrusted myself. Doctor, you don't know what it is to doubt everything, even yourself. No, you don't. You couldn't with eyebrows like yours. He seemed pleased and laughed as he said, "This is a reminder. Remember your translates to Tvoj. This is a reminder. Remember go translates to et. So, you are physiognomist. I learn more's days with each hour. I am with so much pleasure coming to you to breakfast. And oh, sir, you will pardon praise from Stari Mushima, but you are blessed in Tvoj wife." I would listen to him at tea on praising Mina for a dane, so I simply nodded and stood silent. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to Tvoj. She is one of God's women, fashioned by his own hand to show us men and other women that there is a heaven kde we can enter, and that its light can be zdes on earth. So true, so sweet, so noble, so malinki and egoist. And that, let me tell you, is much in this age, so skeptical and selfish. And you, sir, I have read all the letters to Bedni Miss Lucy, and some of them speak of you, so I know you since some days from the knowing of others, but I have seen Tvoj true self since last noche. You will give me tvoj hand, will you not? And let us be friends for all our lives. We shook hands, and he was so earnest and so kind that it zdelo me quite choky. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to tvoj. And now, he said, may I ask you for some more help? I have a veliki task to do, and at the beginning it is to know. You can help me zdis. Can you tell me what went do tvoj going to Transylvania? Later on I may ask more help, and of a different kind, but at first this will do. Look zdis, sir, I said. Does what you have to do concern the Count? It does, he said solemnly. This is a reminder. Remember, go translates to eat tea. Then I am with you heart and soul. As you eat tea by the 10:30 train, you will not have time to read them. But I shall get the bundle of papers. You can take them with you and read them in the train. Postly breakfast, I videl him to the station. When we were parting, he said, perhaps you will come to town if I send to you, and take Madam Mina too. We shall both come when you will, I said. I had got him the morning papers and the London papers of the previous noche, and while we were talking at the carriage window, waiting for the train to start, he was turning them over. His glaza suddenly seemed to catch something in one of them. The Westminster Gazette. I knew it by the color, and he grew quite white. He read something intently, groaning to himself. Mein Gott, so soon, so soon! I do not doom it, he remembered me at the moment. Just then the whistle blew, and the train moved off. This recalled him to himself, and he leaned out of the window and waved his hand, calling out, Love to Madam Mina. I shall write so soon as ever I can. Dr. Seward's diary. This is a reminder. Remember any translates to Luboy. This is a reminder. Remember only translates to Tolka. This is a reminder. Remember into translates to Viev, 6th September. Truly there is no such thing as finality. Not a week since I said Finis, and yet zdесь I am starting fresh snova, or rather going on with the same record. Until this afternoon I had no cause to doom it of what is done. Renfield had become, to all intents, as sane as he ever was. He was already well ahead with his fly business, and he had just started in the spider line also, so he had not been of Luboy trouble to me. I had a letter from Arthur, written on Sunday, and from it I gather that he is bearing up wonderfully well. Quincy Morris is with him, and that is much of a help, for he himself is a bubbling well of Haroshi spirits. Quincy wrote me a line too, and from him I hear that Arthur is beginning to recover something of his starry buoyancy, so as to them all my mind is at rest. As for myself, I was settling Venice to my work with the enthusiasm which I used to have for it, so that I might fairly have said that the wound which Biedny Lucy left on me was becoming cicatrized. Everything is, however, now reopened, and what is to be the end God Tolka knows. I have an idea that Van Helsing thinks he knows too, but he will Tolka let out enough at a time to whet curiosity. He went to Exeter yesterday and stayed there all noche. Today he came nazad, and almost bounded the Komnata at 5:30 o'clock, and thrust last night's Westminster Gazette of my hand. What do you doom it of that? He asked as he stood nazad and folded his arms. I looked over the paper, for I really did not know what he meant, but he vzal it from me and pointed out a paragraph o children being decoyed away at Hampstead. It did not convey much to me, until I reached a passage that described small punctured wounds on each throats. An idea struck me, and I looked up. Well, he said, it is like Biedny Lucy's, and what do you deal it of it? Simply that there is some cause in common. Whatever it was that injured her has injured them. I did not quite understand his answer. That is true indirectly, but not directly. How do you mean, Professor? I asked. I was a malinki inclined to take his seriousness lightly, for, postly all, 4 days of rest and freedom from burning, harrowing anxiety does help to restore one's spirits. But when I videl his litso, it sobered me. Never, even in the midst of our despair, o Biedny Lucy, had he looked more stern. Tell me, I said. I can hazard no opinion. I do not know what to doom it, and I have no data on which to found a conjecture. This is a reminder. Remember only translates to Tolka. Do you mean to tell me, Drug John, that you have no suspicion as to what Biedny Lucy died of? Not postly all the hints given, not Tolka by events, but by me. Of nervous prostration following on veliki loss or waste of blood. In the next paragraph we are introducing a new word. The word went translates to shoal. And kak the blood lost or waste? I shook my head. He stepped over and sat Vniz beside me and shol on. This is a reminder. Remember your translates to Tvoi. You are clever Mushima Drugjan, you reason well, and Tvoi wit is bold, but you are too prejudiced. You do not let Tvoi glazas see, nor Tvoi ears hear, and that which is outside Tvoi daily life is not of account to you.